Welcome to the No Budget Independent Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our esteemed film snobs, or will they agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is Claire Milan
Hello.
and Cathal Feeney.
Hello.
All right, Claire Milan, what's on the agenda this week?
So this week, I picked a film called Bullet in the Brain. It's a film from 2001. It's written and directed by David Von Ancken, and it's based on a short story by Tobias Wolft. So it's about this guy who is he's like a critic, a kind of a writing critic he's teaching a class, and he's very kind of superior and very harsh in his criticisms. And then he goes into a bank, and his words come back to bite him, literally, or to shoot him. I kind of have to spoil it a little bit because, well, it's in the title, so I have to say it. So, Bullet in the Brain. There's a bank robbery, and he's kind of he doesn't like the words, or he's kind of superior towards the bank robbers, and the bank robber says "capiche," and he's like, "What type of word is that?" And then the bank robber gets so annoyed he shoots him dead through the brain, and then he has a flashback throughout his life, and it kind of goes into moments he remembers, and yeah, different things of his life. And yeah, it's a very interesting film, and it's because I went back and read the short story, and the short story is so beautifully written. It's like I don't know, you probably haven't read it. I didn't send it on to you. I should have sent it on to you to read, but it was in the New Yorker by this writer called Tobias Wolft, and it's so descriptive and beautiful. And it starts off with him in the bank already. So then when I saw this film, it starts off him in a classroom, and showing his kind of cruel criticisms and the way he's looking down on his students. And it's after watching the film and reading the short story, they are very worlds apart. I don't think the film captures the short story, the beauty of it, as much. And that preamble showing him in the classroom, it's it yeah, it kind of jars a little bit. I think it should have started off in the bank, and they could have, I think the writer director could have done a slightly better job of transferring the short film transferring the short story to the film. And yeah, it's kind of strange as well, because a narrator comes in halfway through, and it's a bit jarring, but there are some beautiful moments in it. Like, I love the lead actor. I think his name is Tom Noonan, and the way he portrays this kind of angry guy, and kind of lone. He looks kind of a lonely guy, a bit eccentric. It's really, he plays him so well, and he captures his kind of bitterness and meanness, and the way he kind of feels superior in the world, and the way he knows all these words, and other people are kind of inferior to him. It's like he's criticizing the world. But yeah, so what do you think of it overall? Or
Yeah, it's funny that character type too of the I'm better than everybody else, but I'm teaching a like shitty creative writing class in like this rundown, room. Well, so if you're so much better, like so that character type is kind of an interesting character type. What's funny because it's when the voiceover stuff kind of picked up, and even before that, it was interesting because I was thinking to myself, I feel like this would be better if it were a short story. you know
yes,
so it's funny to find out that it was you, and they
yeah.
talk about it in the credits as well,
Mhm.
to that it was actually based on a short story. And I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me, because it feels like it should be a short story more so than a film, especially with the narration, which I'm assuming, do they take a lot of the narration from the short story?
Yes, I think they've
Yeah,
taken it nearly. It jars a little tiny bit, because it just comes in. You're like, whoa, that's someone reading a short story. It's not
yeah.
it's not a an interpretation. Like, It's interesting, but it's very jarring, I found.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting though, and it's funny. The bank robber Dean Winters, he's in a ton of stuff. He was in Rescue Me. He's shown up in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's done a bunch of stuff. So it's kind of funny to see him. Kind of, I think this is reasonably early on in his career, doing this little short and
Yeah,
stuff.
he
But he
looks
kind
kind
of,
of familiar, actually, doesn't he? And
yeah,
even the lead guy, I think Tom Noonan looks very familiar as well. I think they're well-known
yeah,
actors, but this is their one of
yeah.
their earlier work. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting that they got them to do this short film, which in 2001, I'm guessing maybe was shot on film instead of digitally too. It kind of has that look to it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. In regards to the overall story, I don't know if I was too impressed with it too much. You don't feel too sympathetic for the guy when he gets shot, kind of a thing, like because he's kind of a dick. Um, and and there's a lot of I don't know. It just didn't, for some reason, just didn't fully resonate with me, I guess. And maybe because I felt like it should be a short story instead of a film. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it does say it's based on a short story, so
Mhm.
not necessarily an adaptation. So maybe we can, allow for that. I mean, I just took it on its own terms as a film. I mean, obviously, I read that it was based on a short story. Um, like the character himself, like his cynicism is so deeply ingrained in him that he just can't escape from it. And like even like there's no all the satisfaction is gone from his life. So even during the bank robbery, he can't escape from it. You suspect that it's behind it is sort of a failed ambition, that he wanted to be this great writer, but instead he's teaching to a bunch of useless students, and he takes his failures out on them, and he has this sort of an arrogance that, say, people who feel a certain inadequacy with their own abilities have, and they try to inflate their self-importance by criticizing others. Um, but like the kind of the change in tack in the middle of the film was sort of surprising, but for me, it elevated into something kind of poetic. Um, like at the beginning, you're sort of establishing what an unlikable character he is, and then it sort of drills through his life, and you discover, what gave him his love of words. So it's sort of sad and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it's a really good description. Sad and beautiful. And yeah, you can tell there's a bitterness to him. Like he's a really interesting character. You could take that character and put him into another film or a series, and you could
Yeah,
explore.
something longer would be nice so we could get more of his
Yeah.
story, like what turned him into the bitter guy. Because, yeah, obviously you're assuming he's a failed writer and that's what made him so bitter. But it would be kind of interesting to get more of that. That would, I think, make it more interesting.
Yeah, but you can sort of work that out for yourself, like
Well, you can, but I mean, if you got
Yeah.
that in a film,
Yeah.
it gives you more to watch and makes you more sympathetic for him, maybe.
Because even the look of him, it's kind of you do feel a lot of sympathy for him, and he
Mhm.
has a daughter he mentions in the flashback, and I just think it's so
Yeah, like what
sad.
happened to that relationship
Yeah,
or what happened
and
to his marriage, that kind of stuff.
and
I
even
don't
like
think.
the opening, where he's walking, against the crowd, like it's I suppose that's kind of symbolic, but I think
Mhm.
most of us have had teachers like this. So it's yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it in them sometimes the way like they want to be something, and they're so angry they take that in their students. So it's yeah.
I don't think I ever feel sympathetic towards the guy, at any stage, even when he got shot.
I
You
do
know,
That's what I'm
kind
saying.
of.
Like, yeah, I didn't feel so. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, if I were the bank robber there, I probably would have shot him too.
Really. Oh, that's
you know?
interesting. I felt a bit sorry for him.
yeah.
Yeah, but he was asking for it. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
he like if he wanted to get shot, but he
Uh,
wanted to go down in flames because he couldn't hold himself back by not speaking
but
up.
he felt his life was so worthless that
Yeah,
he didn't care anymore really. Yeah, and even though at that one moment when he kind of goes, he'd given up hope for himself and for humanity. So when it's capiche, it was like, how cheesy, to say that,
Yeah, because even when the guy said capiche, I was like, oh, that's so cheesy. And then he said it like back.
yeah,
It was just like, because I was like, oh, why would a writer write capiche just for a second before
Mhm.
he answered, But I don't
yeah.
think he's named in the piece, is he? Or is he? I can't
Who-
remember.
I don't
The
think so.
writer, as far as I know. Yeah,
Well, it's
I'd be wrong.
yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the writer is Tobias Wolff, so yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I don't know how much of the dialogue was taken from the short story.
Mm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was somebody obviously did write the screenplay.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, I meant the actor. Is he named like the actual
Oh,
character?
did anybody refer to him by his name in the film?
Yeah, I don't think they did.
I don't think so, because it was pretty
No.
much all just his point of view.
oh,
Like,
Yeah.
sorry, no,
Yeah. No, the
no.
writer was definitely in the
Mhm.
credits. Yeah.
I'm
But
sorry.
I don't think he was. So maybe because
No,
of
I
the
don't think so either.
names, then yeah.
Hmm. All right. Well, rating time.
Okay, you can go first. So
All right. I'm kind of a toss up between a 2 and a 3. I'm gonna go 3, but it's a low 3.
okay.
It's
Okay.
barely a 3.
All right, Claire. I'll let you go last.
Ah,
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you here, Milo, because you mentioned earlier that it didn't have any resonance, and for me, it did. I think it did, and it's a type of film you can take something from. At its simplest, this idea that you, instead of looking at the negative things in life, just concentrate on what brings you happiness and joy. I think good art should affect you and move you in some way, and this film did. So I'm going to give it 5 stars.
What?
way.
Oh
Is
my God.
God, I did not expect that.
We have watched so many better movies than this.
Jesus, I picked a
Oh.
5-star film that Carl Feeney
Oh my
liked.
goodness.
Oh my God, this is like
I think it's a great choice.
I
no
know.
budget moment, and it moved him.
Yes.
It moved him.
We got a
Well,
strong
just thought it was
emotional
so brilliant.
reaction
The end
from
of it, like,
Carl.
it was.
I'm actually in shock. Yeah.
Wow.
Jesus.
Jeez, our
Oh
bells
my
must be
God.
ringing somewhere. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I don't
crazy.
know.
You know what?
Okay. Go on.
It has the potential to move something if they're movable. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so my choice of film that Carl Feeney gave 5 stars to. For me, obviously, visually, it looks very dated. It did throw me off a little bit. But the lead actor really played him terrifically, and there were some parts of it that jarred me, some of the narration, but there was some beautiful moments in it as well, and I did feel very sorry for the guy, so I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
Oh wow!
All right.
So I'm totally at odds with everybody here.
Yeah, that's fine. It happens. It happens on occasion. Well, go ahead.
No, I really loved the way it ended. I just thought it was really that sequence was really cool.
It was nicely done, little sequence.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably would have liked it better if there was less of the beginning and more of the ending.
Yes, same here. The beginning was a bit, kind of unusual versus the rest of it, and it did pick up then. Yeah.
Well, No Budget Filmcast audience, you heard it here. Cahill gave this film 5 stars. What do you think? Feel free to let us know via our social media channels at No Budget Show. And of course, we will put a link into the notes below and have a watch. Let us know and see what your rating is. And thanks. And as always, we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Shocking.
Yeah, that's just mad. I picked it as well. So I'm so proud of myself.
Good job, Claire.
Because it's so hard to pick them sometimes.